Do you hear the words simple interest and compounded interest and say, "What?" Well, I do. They just wipe me out. Well, I'm gonna teach them to you. We're gonna start with simple interest. Now this board may look like a big mumble jumble, but it's not. It's your table for setting it up, as seen in the packet that Miss Mowl was kind enough to give us earlier this week. So, here's our friend Johnny. If Johnny wants to open up a savings account, I'll show you what that looks like with simple interest. So, this is our simple interest board. If Johnny had $0 in the bank to start with, and he's going to deposit $200, and he's always going to deposit $200. This is how you would fill it in. So, after that, you would find out what Johnny's rate of interest was. And if Johnny's rate of interest was 4%, you'd write that down this column. So the bottom column you would leave open because it's your totals column. So you would leave that whole row across empty for right now. So next you would find the new balance for on the first row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total. So you would go on number 1 first. So for the new balance you would add the deposited amount plus the beginning balance for the new cycle. So 200 plus 0 is, shocker, 200. So for the interest earned, you would times 200 by 4%, which if we get our little math board out here, you would do 200 times 0.04, because a percent, if you move it into a decimal, it would be, you move the decimal over 2 places. So if you cross out the percent sign that you have there, if you cross that out, then you have the decimal right here, then you move it to the left 2 places. So you would put a 0 to fill in, so it would be 0.04. So if you're going to times it, here's what you would get. 8. So, since it was 8, you would take that 8 and it would be $8 right here. So that would be your interest earned. So, for your ending balance, since we're doing simple interest, you would take this number and put it right there, and you would leave the interest that's in this column there, and you would not add it to the balance. So if you're getting your ending balance right here, it would be 200. Now you'll take that 200 and move it over here. Take this number and put it right here on the next line for your beginning balance for the new cycle. So if you keep doing that cycle, I'll do one more line for you. You take 200 and add 200 and you get 400. Now if we get our math board out again, when we get our math board out, we're going to times 400 by 0.04 for 4%. And when we do that, we will get 16. and we will take that 16 and we will put it right here. So again, since we're doing simple interest, the interest is paid out. It is not added to the balance. So our balance would be 400. So you would take the 400 and put it over here. So then you take the 400 and put it down here. And you add those two together, you'll get 600. And you times it by 4%. And you keep doing that until you get all the way down to 6. Now that I have the board filled in, I'm going to add some stuff up. You're not going to fill in the first box, or the second column, the fourth column, the fifth column, or the seventh column. See the numbers up here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're only going to fill in the third column and the sixth column. So you're going to add these up, and you're going to have a total down here of $1,200. And then over here, when you add them up, you're going to have $168. So, to get your simple interest, to get your total of what you'll have in your account after your years, which would be 6 years, you would add these two numbers together. So if you take 1,200 and 168 and add them together, what would that be? 1,368. Yeah. Now we move on to compounded interest. It's important to prepare you youngsters these days for the challenges that lie ahead of you in life. This is one of the ways that we're going to teach you. You will set up the table basically exactly like you set up the simple interest table. Here's an example of a compounded interest in Miss Mowl's packet, again, that she was nice enough to give us. For our example of compounded interest, we will use our example, Marty. So for our example, Marty is opening a bank account, and she has $0 currently in that bank account because she just opened it. Her bank account will pay 4% and compounded annually, and she will deposit $200 each year on her birthday. So we will use our chart on our board to figure out how much interest and how much total she had over 6 years. So for the table for Marty's, since she started out with nothing, we'll put a 0 in the beginning balance for her new cycle. And since the deposit amount was $200 for each year, we'll put $200 all the way down this column for the deposited amount. So our new balance would be section 2 and section 3, or the columns. We would add them together. So 200 plus 0 is 200. So the rate of interest is 4%. And our interest earned, you would times 200 by 0.04. So, do you guys know what 200 times 0.04 is? It's 8. and that would be $8. So the big difference between simple interest and compounded interest is that for our ending balance that will earn interest, we add this column, whereas in simple interest, we just took this number and put it right there. So for compounded interest, we will take the $200 plus the $8, and that will be $208. And we will bring that $208 down here. So we add the $208 plus the $200, and that will give us $408. The rate of interest will still be 4, and we'll write that all the way down this column. So 408 times 0.04 is $16.32. So if we add $16.32 to 408, because remember, we add these two to get this on compounded interest, we will get $424.32. And I will do the rest of the table, and you can check your work. Will be our deposited amount. So what she deposited over 6 years, which she deposited $200 every year, so that would be $1,200. So then when we move over here for our interest earned, we would add up all of the interest rates in this column, and we would get $179.65. So, if we want to find out what Marty's total will be in her account after 6 years, we will add together the total of the deposited account, which was $1,200, and we'll add that to the total of the interest earned column, which was $179.65. So if we add those together, it will be her total after 6 years will be $1,379.65. So, if we want to compare the simple interest versus the compounded interest, we will subtract the bigger number. So the compounded interest is obviously the bigger number. So we will take $1,379.65 and minus $1,368. So with that, we will get the difference in that is $11.65. That is what that is how much more Marty will earn than Johnny. Thank you for learning this important life lesson about math.